Greetings, booktubers. Welcome back to Grammaticus Books. Welcome to a Vorkosigan saga episode of Grammaticus Books. This is the second one in the series. I've been rereading the Vorkosigan saga that I read decades and decades ago. I had a vague memory of it being a very good military science fiction series written by LOIS McMaster BUJOLD. So I've been rereading it, and I'm on book 2, which is Warrior's Apprentice. Now, I reviewed book 1 in this series, Shards of Honor, a couple of weeks ago. I'll link that video down below, and I highly encourage you to go check it out. But today we're going to be going over book 2, which is Warrior's Apprentice. But before we do that, we need to do a quick recap on book 1. So Shards of Honor introduces you to the parents of Miles Vorkosigan, who's going to be your main protagonist going forward here, starting with this book. And his parents are Cordelia Naismith of Beta Colony, and his father is Errol Vorkosigan, or Count Vorkosigan, who is a count in the Bariaran military empire. And his mother and his father meet as opposing officers in a battle of conflict and an interstellar conflict between these two forces, where they eventually fall in love and get married and go back to Bariar. Now, Miles Vorkosigan, you start off with him as a young teenager who's getting ready to enter the military academy of Bariar, but he has some abnormalities. He is not your typical protagonist. He has a number of birth defects that cause him serious physical challenges, because when his mother was pregnant with him, she was subject to an assassination attempt in Bariaran, deadly Bariaran politics, and it was a poison gas assassination attempt. And because of the poison gas, while she was pregnant, Miles Vorkosigan is born with very brittle bones, and he is very stunted in his stature. He's not much above 5 feet tall, if that. So in his attempt to become an imperial military officer in the Vorkosigan military, he has a number of challenges, particularly with his bones and his height. And on day 1 at his military academy, he fails out with a broken leg. And this brings to a conclusion a harsh ending to his dreams of becoming a military commander and following in his father's footsteps. But from that point forward, he sort of falls into a calamity of errors that wind up seeing him at the head of an entire interstellar fleet of interstellar mercenaries named the Dendari Mercenaries. And it's very good. Now, the first book that I reviewed, Shards of Honor, I gave it a mediocre review. I rated it 7 out of 10. It wasn't a great book. It wasn't a bad book. It was just sort of in the middle. It was a halfway decent start to the series. This book, I'm happy to report, is much, much better. It's in this book that you start to see why this series got so many accolades, why LOIS McMaster BUJOLD won so many Nebula and Hugo Awards. The writing in here is very excellent. It's sharp, it's crisp, the dialogue is intelligent, it's engaging. The characters are full of life and energy and personality that draw you into them. You want to learn about them, you want to read about them. It's a page turner. It has great plots going on in it. And I would describe the book overall as light military sci-fi with a lot of light humor in it. There's a lot of humor in this book, but at the same time, there's a lot of dark, serious elements that are going on as well. But overall, this is light military science fiction done very, very, very well. It's a very interesting book. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And in fact, I would give it a rating of 9 overall. I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. Now, there is another book in the series that some people say belongs in this Vorkosigan saga, and that is Falling Free by LOIS McMaster BUJOLD from 1988. I disagree. I did review this along with Shards of Honor in that video. This is more of a standalone. This is really the second one in the series here that launches LOIS McMaster BUJOLD's Miles Vorkosigan series with the cast of characters. You've got Sergeant Bothari, who's his bodyguard assigned by his father here. And you've also got his love interest, who is Elena, who is the daughter of Sergeant Bothari, and then a whole other cast of characters to support and go along with Miles Vorkosigan. And the book here, in order to get the most out of Warrior's Apprentice, even though it's not that it's good of a book, it's not as well written, I do recommend reading Shards of Honor first. And the reason I recommend reading Shards of Honor, even though it's only a 7, and even though it's not directly related to this book right here, it's got different characters altogether, is that there are interpersonal relationships, and there are events that happen in Shards of Honor that if you haven't read Shards of Honor, you're not going to get the full effect of the personality conflicts and the events that occur here in Warrior's Apprentice. You can read this as a standalone. You can start with this one if you like, but you're not going to get as much out of it if you haven't read Shards of Honor first. So even though I only rated Shards of Honor a 7 out of 10, I do recommend reading it before going on to Warrior's Apprentice. But Warrior's Apprentice is excellent. I was very pleased with it. I'm very excited to go on to the next book in the series. Like I said, I did give it a solid 9 out of 10. It's very intelligently written. It reaches out and grabs you. It's a page turner. It just keeps you from the start all the way to the back of the book, completely engaged with it. And it's a very enjoyable book to read, so I do recommend it. So I'm moving on to the third one. I'm hoping to finish the series by the end of the year. But with that, I'm going to wrap this one up, and I'm going to say take care, be safe, and I will catch you guys next time.